Hello guys, welcome to this video. So in this video we will look at how to build out a Gmail API example, how to show your inbox messages inside the table inside React.js. So we have this full project inside React.js. We have a demo. Let me show you. We are running this application on localhost. We have a login with Google button. So as you click this button, you will be able to authenticate with Google and log in with your Gmail account. And then we will be fetching all the inbox messages, the top 30 latest messages. You will see the list in this table, and it will show you the title of the message right here. And there are three buttons. Either you can open this message, or you can star it, or you can delete it into the trash. So now if I click the open button, you will basically see it will redirect me to the Gmail. It will open the message in my Gmail app. You can see, then I can read this message very easily. So you can see how easy it is, and there is an option here to star this message. If you want to add this message to a star, you can click the star message and you will see message starred successfully. So star means that you like this message. Now it will appear it in the star section. So if I check right here in this section, there will be this message added. If you check, we have checked this start this message right now, which is Black Friday special. Right now the you can see 12:20 the current time is there. So we start this message. So we can easily do this. We can, let's suppose I want to start this message, I can simply click this button. Again, if I now check, there will be another message added to the star section. So you can see in this way, no shave only being, you can see this message also added. So let's suppose if you want to delete a certain message that you don't want, and let me delete this message only, which is we start this, so Black Friday special. I don't need this message, so I will simply click delete, and now you will see it will be removed from this list as well. So it will be updated. So if I again refresh, you will not see this message because this message has been removed and it has been moved to trash. You can see the message has been removed. If I want to check the trash bin here, you will see this will remove the this message has been moved to trash. You will see that. So in this way, very easily you can delete messages that you don't need. If I click delete here, also delete this message as well, and check the trash bin, you will see two more messages will get added very easily. So in this way we are doing it programmatically using React.js. We're communicating with the Gmail API. We are doing these changes on the fly using the React.js application, and you can open any message. You can see by clicking the open button, it will open that message in the message viewer where you can actually see that message. So this is actual complete application we will be building, guys, using full authentication plus the Gmail API. So all the source code will be given in the description. So now let's get started by building this application. So let me introduce to the modules that we'll be using for this tutorial. So there is a certain module that I will be using specifically for React.js application. If you want to integrate the login functionality, there is a dependency which is React Google login. So we are using this, and then we are using this as well, GAAP script. So this is a package to load the Google API script and some functions. So you need to import this. So npmi also. And for building the user interface, we are using this package React Bootstrap. This is required. So now just go to your command line, just install these packages, which is Google API script, React Google login button, and then we need to import React Bootstrap and Bootstrap, also the base package. So these four packages are required. Let me show you the command in full screen. So this is the first package, second package, third package, fourth package. So just install all these four packages. I have already done that. And now in the next section, we will start building this project from scratch. So I will see you guys in the next section. So now to get started, guys, we will start building the project from scratch. We have this file app.jsx is currently empty. We need to initialize a simple functional component. So it will let me start the application. It will refresh and it will show app here. So this we are starting it from scratch. So now we need to actually get two informations. We need to declare two global variables right here. First is the client ID and the client API key. So this API key and this client ID, you need to get it from Google Cloud Console, because at any time if you want to communicate with the Google APIs, you need this information. So in this way we will be working with Gmail API. So just you need to create an account at Google Cloud Console, and then you need to get your API key. I will simply paste my API key. So and for the client ID, it's very simple. Once you create the account, you need to go to credentials and then just click the API section. It will generate for you. Just for client ID, just click this option and select from here web application. And then whatever is your URL, this is my URL. So just copy this URL and paste it in the first redirect URI, authorized JavaScript origins. Just paste this URL without the trailing slash, and now in the authorized redirect URI, again paste this. That's all. So click on create. It will give you your client ID. So this will be different for you. So just paste it this. And also one more thing you need to do, you need to enable the APIs. So just go to this section and search for the API that you are working with, which is the Gmail API. So you need to enable that API. So simply search and just enable that API. I've already done that, so that's why it is. So after you do this, we now need to declare some state variables for our application. So we need three variables. First is our Boolean parameter, which will check either the user is authenticated or not. Then the array, which will be storing the messages, and third is the access token. So we have these three variables. First is this Boolean parameter, second is the messages, where we'll be storing it in an array. Initial will be empty array, and the third one where we'll be storing the access token, which we need to get once we are authenticated. After declaring these three variables, we now need to go to the JSX, and before that we need to import Bootstrap. So we need to import the CSS. So bootstrap min.css, and also we also need the Google API script, the package that we installed. It contains this method. You can see we are importing this module Google API script, and then we are importing this method. So after you do this, just coming to your JSX, right here we will have a diff section. We will be giving a bootstrap class which will be container margin top 5. These are all bootstrap classes, and inside h1 tag we will say your Gmail messages. So here you will say your Gmail messages. So after this after this h1 tag right here, we now need to actually compare in this JSX condition inside curly bracket, and we'll be simply be using this variable that we declared, and we'll be checking if the user is not authenticated. In that case, we need to show the login button, and for showing the login button we'll be creating a component which I will call that login component. And if the user is authenticated in the ternary operator, we will actually show a simple message that you are authenticated. That's all. This is the ternary operator, guys. So based upon this condition, if this value comes out to be false, then we show the login button. If they are authenticated, then we show you are authenticated. Now in the source directory, we need to create a folder components, and right here we need to create a component called as a login component JSX. So right here we need to import this component, so we can simply say login component, so it will be get imported if you see. So now inside this login component, whenever we are calling this, we do need to pass some properties to this as props. So we need to pass three properties. First is the So only two properties, sorry, on success, which is a callback function which will get executed whenever you are authenticated, and also on failure, if any sort of error take place, then this function will execute, which is handle login failure. So we just need to initialize both these functions right here at the top. The second one is handle login failure. So now in these both respective functions, these are callback functions of the API. So in this will get the response, the user response, the user profile information. So once they are authenticated, we can console log this. And similarly, in this failure method, we will have the error. If any sort of error take place, so we're just console logging it. So now right here in the login component, we are receiving both these parameters. So now to receive it, it's very easy. We will destructure it using curly bracket and just on success and on failure. We have these two methods. We are receiving it as props. So now in the JS6, we need to import that Google login button. You'll be using this. It will be coming from this package React Google login. It's a simple login button, and it receives two parameters right here. Let me also pass the client ID, as because we have declared the client ID at the very top. So we can simply pass it as a prop, which is the client ID. So we can receive this client ID as well. So now the very first parameter is the client ID. So we can simply pass it this variable. The second parameter, it takes the button text. So simply I will say login with Google. The third parameter is a callback function. So we can attach this callback function that we are receiving it, and then the on failure. So on failure we can attach, and then lastly the scope. So what information you are accessing. So we need to access these scopes slash auth slash gmail for reading the messages. So we only need the read only scope, and also we want the scope for deleting messages as well. So for this we need the second scope. So what I will do, I will paste this. So we are requesting two scopes for reading messages and also for deleting, and so you need to just give a space and mention the second scope, which is for modifying it. So we are requesting two scopes. So once you do this, you will see a login button appearing. It is saying that the failed to resolve import. Does the file exist? Sorry, this needs to be min, not mem. Just make this change. This is min. So you will actually see a login button appearing. It is saying that use state is not defined. I think we haven't imported use state. That's why. Just import the use state hook. So you will actually see the login button, login with Google if you see. So if I click this button, uh, you will be authenticated, and you will receive this object, the user information object, which will contain the profile information access token and the profile information as well about the user. You can see given name, Google ID, image URL, email address. So now we need to get the access token. We need to store it in a variable. So inside our on handle login success, so right in this callback function, we first of all need to set the authenticated user. So set is authenticated needs to change from false to true. Then we need to set the access token by using the hook function. We can set, which will be response dot access token, and then we need to fetch the messages. So we will make this function custom function where we'll be passing the access token as an argument. So now we need to make this function which will be responsible for fetching the messages. So it will be having a argument passed to it, which is the access token. So right here in this function, we will fetch the user messages from their Gmail inbox. So it will be a async function. So right here we have this Google API SDK, and it contains a function, load function, and here we need to load the client, and here we need to pass our information. It's async function, our client ID and the API key. So we can say await Google API client init, and we need to initialize the client by passing the API key parameter, and it's stored inside our API key. And then we need to pass the discovery docs, and it will be a simple array, and it contains which point you need to hit, which endpoint. So in this case we are hitting the Gmail API, so we'll be providing Gmail API REST API version number 1 REST. So just need to mention, that's all that we need to do right here. After this, you make your REST call. Now to make the REST call, we will use this method, which is Google API dot client dot gmail dot users dot messages. So it will fetch the top 20 messages. So here in this method, it has a method of list, and here you need to provide an object here, the user ID option. This needs to be me because we need to fetch our own messages. That's why this parameter needs to be me. And the second option here is how many maximum results you want to fetch, how many messages. I need to fetch 20 messages at a time. And then we need to provide the access token as well, which is stored inside this access token variable. So you're simply passing the access token. So after this, we can console log the response coming. Let me just console log it and just show to you if it is working or not. And if I click the login with Google button, and you will see you are authenticated, and you will see this object receiving. And if you see the object, we have the result, and it contains 20 messages in the JSON response. So each message will have properties such as the thread ID. Using the message ID, we can retrieve the information about a particular message, such as the title, description, everything. Now using the message ID, we need first of all need to store these messages in a messages variable, and you can simply say response dot result dot messages, and we need to store this inside this variable, and then we need to retrieve the content of the message. And for this we can simply use promise all function, and we can actually loop through each message by using the map function, and async for each message. We can get the message here. So here we can use the method of the SDK, which is users dot users dot messages dot get is the method, and here you need to pass an object. Again, the user ID is me to fetch the own messages, and ID here you need to provide the message ID. We can get this using the particular message and dot ID, and then again we need to pass the access token as well. For each request we need to pass the access token. So after you do this, we can return the actual message result. So after you do this, we can console log the full message, and then we can also set by using the set messages function the full messages. So it will actually contain the information about each message. If you now click the login with Google button, So if you now see, you will receive information about each message, such as payload information, label ID is actually whatever you can see, the snippet, which is the title of the message, payload contains the information, the body of the message, headers, if you see. So all sort of information is available to us. Now we can display it in a tabular structure, in a table-like structure. And now for displaying it, now coming back to the JSX, right here, we will have a separate component for this. So instead of this h1 heading, we will simply have a component which will say message list. So I will just need to make a new component in the components folder. You can simply say message list.jsx. So in this component message list, we need to pass some properties. The first property that we need to pass is the actual messages, which is the array variable. So we can simply directly pass the messages. Second will be the all these functions. For opening the message, we will define a function for opening the message. Then for starting a message, for liking a particular message, we will define this function as well. Star message. And then for deleting the message, we will have another function which we will define here, which is delete message. So we have defined these three functions. So let me define this function right here. So then we have star message function, and then we have the delete message function. So you have defined these three functions. So coming back to the message list component, now inside this component, we need to receive these four parameters that we are passing. So message list, I think, yeah. So here we can destructure it, and we can say messages, open message, star message, and delete message. All these parameters we are receiving in this component, and now we need to return the JSX from this. We will be having the list group component of Bootstrap. React Bootstrap, we will have this component list group, and then we will loop through each messages. So let's say array, so we can simply map it through, and for each message we will have define another component here. This one I will define it as message item. So again define another component here which will be message item. So in this component message item, we will pass the information about a particular message. We will pass the property such as the key, which will be the actual message ID. The second parameter is actually the actual message. So we will pass the actual message as the second property. Third property is actually again the callback functions, which is for opening the message, for starting the message, and then for deleting the message. So now in this component message item, right here, we will receive all these parameters once again, so we can destructure it. It's better to split code into respective components just to make sure it happens consistently. So now we will need to actually get some information such as the subject, title of the message. So for destructuring the subject, we can say message dot payload dot headers dot find method, and we can find actually the subject h dot name triple equal to subject. We need to fetch the subject in this way, and then we can get the value by question mark dot value. If the subject is not available, then we simply say no subject. Then guys, after retrieving this, we can actually now display it. So instead of this, we can simply have a list group item, which again will come from React Bootstrap. So we will give some Bootstrap classes for this, for aligning it in the center position. So this tutorial is not about CSS, so we have just used Bootstrap for this. So now in the strong tag, we will actually embed the subject of the message. And then we have three buttons appearing side by side. First, again, this button will be coming from React Bootstrap. You will see this buttons. So these three buttons which will be there, let me paste it. First one for opening the message, starting the message, and deleting the message. Let me paste all these three buttons. So if you see what we have done, we have binded an on-click listener. So we are having delete message, we are passing the message ID as argument. Starting message, again we are passing the message ID, and then opening message, again we are passing the message ID as argument. So we have these three buttons. If you just refresh your application, you will see the messages will display. I think some error is there. Message list is not defined. I think right here, I think we are not including the component. This needs to be message list. Import that. Again, click. Message item is not defined. I think we have one inside this. Again, we need to import this component message item. It is imported. Just make sure that you import components, and after you see, now you will see the list of messages will display. The top 20 latest messages on my Gmail inbox will display. I can show you. If I open my Gmail inbox, you can see these are my latest messages. Update to link, terms and service, privacy policy. You will see the title matches. So we have the top 20 latest messages, and we have these three buttons for opening, starting, deleting. But if I click either of these buttons, the messages, it will not work, because we need to define these messages. So right here we have defined these three methods for starting, deleting, and opening a message. For now, opening is very easy. For opening a message, we just need to construct a URL. All these three functions will receive the message ID as argument. So we can simply pass message ID. So now for opening a Gmail message, we just need to construct a URL using the message ID. Just use destructuring, template string mail.google.com /mail /u/ let me just paste it. So you will see we are at the end, we are embedding this message ID, and then we just need to say window.open. We need to open this URL, and then in a new tab, so blank. So if you try to now refresh, if you try to open this message, click on open, you will see the message will open in our inbox automatically. So we embedded this message ID right at the bottom on the end side. You can read your message. Now we're starting the message, it's slightly different. We need to make a REST call for starting a message. So just make this async method. This star and delete methods, just make them async. So for now, actually starting a message, we just need to say await Google API dot client gmail dot users. dot messages, and we have the modify method, and right here we need to modify the message user ID. Again we need to pass me an ID of the message, and then the third object is a resource object, and here we need to specify the I add label IDs, and then we need to simply pass it starred. We need to star a message, so it will add this label to this message, and at last we just need to pass the access token as well. So we are passing our access token. So we are just replace the message ID, sorry, here passing it. So access token, if you see, we are passing this access token that we defined in the state variable. So we have the access token already available. So in this way we can start the message, and delete process is really simple. For deleting it, we again use the same method, modify, but for deleting, we provide a different label ID, because we provide one more option here, which is remove label IDs from inbox. So it removes the message from the inbox and add this to the trash. So we add this label of trash and remove it inbox. Again, the same options we are doing it, user ID. Sorry, this is a message ID we need to pass. Lastly, we also need to remove it from the browser. So you can simply say set messages, whatever we need to remove this messages. So you can say messages.filter, and for this message we need to remove this message. So we can say message.id. We don't want this message. So this needs to be thread ID, sorry, message ID. That's all that we need to do, guys. This is the overall application is complete. If I click the login with Google button, you will get the list of 20 latest messages. You can change that number, you can get more messages. So now if I want to delete this message, I can simply click delete. So once I click the delete button, so it is saying that some error has been required, path parameter ID is missing. Let me see what is the problem. Let me see what is the problem here. It's a ID. Okay, I think we need to call this as ID. That's the problem, I think, or some typo mistake has happened. Let me just paste the code. So we are actually passing the ID here, which is a message ID. If you see, and for deleting purpose, again we are filtering it, passing it the actual ID. If you see, so we just replace message ID with ID. I think this should work. So now if you see, that message has been removed, it has been transferred to trash. If I change my, if you refresh, you will see I will not see that message. If I open the trash here, that message has been moved to trash. You can see update to links, terms and privacy policy. So in this way you can star a message. Let's suppose this message I want to save it, business activity is now rising. I can say star. So now you can see message start successfully. So if I go to the star section, so you will see business activity. So this message has been saved. So in this way, programmatically in React.js, you can communicate with Gmail API to read messages, delete messages, star messages, or open the messages very easily. So I have shown a complete example. Thank you very much for watching this video. All the source code is given in the description. And do check out my website as well, freemediatools.com, which contains thousands of free tools regarding audio, video and image. And I will be seeing you in the next video.